The ultimate Shinigami, he is the unrivaled commander of the Millennium faction and is able to burn everything to ashes with his strongest heat-based Zanpakuto. Genryusai Yamamoto. Captain Yamamoto is a character with overwhelming firepower from his attacks using his Zanpakuto Ryujin Wakabi. When using flash attacks, which are heavy attacks, or unique techniques, which I'm assuming are special flash attacks, the Gouen gauge accumulates, and when it reaches its maximum, he enters the Gouen state for a certain period of time. During the Gouen state, the damage he deals to the opponent increases significantly, but his own spiritual particles, which is his reishi, which is his health, decrease. So he needs to be careful when managing his Gouen gauge. We are going to look over his Gouen gauge here in just a second. They go over some really good details about that I want to get back to after we look at a couple of other things. He is surprisingly a 2-star ease of use character. Owlflame and I were talking about this in my Discord, link in the description, and I was thinking he was going to be a 4-star ease of use, with Owlflame thinking he was going to be a 3-star ease of use. So him turning out to be a 2-star ease of use character is actually a huge shock to me. Looking at his actual stat spread, he is without a doubt a very firepower attack heavy character. They make sure they let us know that when they give us his description, but his attack is maxed out. His special skills is a little bit above average, with being 2 away from being maxed out. His defense, which is his toughness and durability, is maxed out as well. His reach is very high, which makes sense given the use of a lot of his abilities. And then he is unbelievably slow. This is one of the lowest speed stats that you could have. His mobility is all the way in the toilet. So that is going to make him a walking, tanking, damage dealing monster. The first thing that they show us is actually his unique specification, the Gouen gauge / hellish flame state. When using flash attacks or unique techniques, the Gouen gauge accumulates, and when you land a quick attack, it decreases. The more Gouen gauge accumulates, the higher your attack power becomes, and when it reaches maximum, you enter the Hell Flame state. In the Hell Flame state, your attack power increases, but your spirit particles are constantly decreasing. Breaking this down bit by bit, your heavy attacks and your special heavy attacks accumulate your Gouen gauge. When you land quick attacks, that gauge decreases. Every time you're landing a special flash attack or you're landing a heavy attack, you're increasing the power of all the attacks that you do. And when you start comboing people with your light attack strings, that's when the gauge will start to decrease, but you will be doing increased damage based off of how full that gauge is. And if you fill the gauge all the way, you will enter the Hell Flame state. And in the Hell Flame state, I'm assuming your attack power will be the highest that it will ever be until it reaches 0. But during that time, you will be burning health the entire time. So keep that in mind when you're managing the meter, because it might be kind of like a... This may sound vulgar, but he seems like a character that you do kind of want to edge a little bit. Like, you don't want to be always in that Hellfire state, but you want to have your Gouen gauge almost maxed out as much as you can to increase the damage of the regular combos and regular attacks that you are doing. And when I say regular attacks, I mean like all of his attacks, every single attack, because I'm pretty sure that the Gouen gauge impacts literally every single attack he has. And then they keep talking about his unique technique. And when we look at the description of his unique skill, I'm assuming the unique skill and the unique technique are the same things, and both of those things are the special flash attack. I could very much be wrong about all 3, but that's the assumption that I'm going based off of, with these translations being as wonky as they are. And his unique skill, Honagi, it unleashes a powerful wide range slash wrapped in flames. It is possible to perform another attack with additional input. At first glance, at first playthrough of his trailer, I was thinking they didn't show us this move, but when I was going back through looking over the trailer for this video, I think that they actually showed us his signature skill, his unique skill, 2 times. One of the times was after he goes into his awakening, and literally the last attack that he throws out while he's in his awakening after he does that spinny fire tornado attack, I'm thinking that this is the unique skill, because to me this fits the description of a powerful wide range, not long range, wide range slash wrapped in flames. And then it says there's also an ability to do a follow-up attack, which we don't see. And then the other time that they show us this was actually at the very beginning of the trailer when they showed us his auto attack string. I think the last hit that he did there on Ichigo is the same exact hit that we see in his awakening, even though it's at a different place in the combo. It's during a different combo entirely, and it looks like it might have possibly a different functionality, but it's the same move. If we take the time to look a little closer, we will see that this combo he's doing actually drops, and Ichigo has the time to do a back step to get away from this move, but he does not successfully escape it. So this means 2 things to me. 1, this is a separate input different from the combo string that he's doing that caused Ichigo to be able to get out of the combo. And 2, even if it does drop, it has insane reset potential, because you literally cannot backstep it with a normal character and get away from the hitbox. So this hitbox is extremely active, and it may lead to a lot of combo potential for Yamamoto that I was not seeing when the trailer first dropped. And if that is the case, his 2-star ease of use makes a lot more sense. Then they show us his spiritual pressure technique 1, Shiranui, attacks by shooting flames forward. When activated, the user enters the hellfire state. Holding down the button to activate increases damage. On activation of his spiritual pressure technique 1, it seems like no matter what your Gouen gauge is at, you are going to go into that hellfire state and be doing increased damage at the cost of your own reishi. And if you hold down the button, it increases the damage that it does. I'm assuming that it does that by literally just having the move stay out there longer. It's not going to change the animation, and I honestly think it's not going to just like buff the damage. You're just going to see that increased damage because the attack is out there longer. But if it does buff the damage and the attack isn't out there longer, that's actually a good thing, because the more you can get that damage off without being vulnerable, the better. But it's going to be very, very, very hard, in my opinion, playing around him not being in his hellfire state for too long, especially with his spiritual pressure techniques implementing the hellfire state itself regardless of where your meter is. So the more I'm looking at his abilities, the more I'm seeing why he's a 2-star ease of use character. It's not just pick up and play, it's pick up, strategize, and win. And then his second spiritual pressure technique is Torch and Slash. The technique that is activated changes depending on whether or not the user is in the hellfire state. Torch, which is when you're in your normal state, performs a low power attack. After activation, the flame gauge will not increase for a certain period of time. Slash, Hellfire state. It fires a very powerful flash of flames. After activation, the Hellfire state is released. This is a lot bigger brain of a move than I was giving it credit for when I first reacted to that trailer. So pretty much what this does, when you use your regular version, the Torch, when you're not in your Hellfire state, whatever level that state is filled to, it will pause at once you use the Torch version of this attack. So say you're 1 hit away from maxing out your Gouen gauge and getting into your Hellfire state, and you pop this, you will stay at that 1 tick away from entering your Hellfire state and have all that increased damage that it does while that meter is frozen. My question is, while the meter is frozen and it doesn't increase, does that mean that it also will not decrease? Because if that's the case and you pop your torch at the right time and it doesn't decrease, you can get insane damage off with your light attack strings, because the entire point of your light attacks is to decrease that gauge buildup. So if it doesn't do that, and it, like I said, also doesn't increase the meter, you are going to be getting crazy damage off with his combos without having to actually sacrifice your health by going into the Hellfire state. But say you do decide to go into the Hellfire state, like say you just want to go into the Hellfire state for one combo because their guard meter is broken and you want to do a lot of freaking damage. Say you pop your Spiritual Pressure Technique 1 to instigate or induce the Hellfire state, do your combo, and then right afterwards, assuming you have enough EX meter built up, you use your Spiritual Pressure Technique 2, the slash version, because it releases the Hellfire state after the attack. So you won't be standing there burning your health off for literally no reason. There are a lot of like resource management abilities you have to be able to play this character, and I think to be good with him. So this is really interesting, and the more I'm talking about this, the higher on my interest tier list he begins to climb, because I honestly, like, and mind you, I'm going to be doing a tier list for the characters that I am most interested in for this game as well. He was around a C tier when I first saw that trailer, but now he's creeping towards A, so that's very interesting. Definitely let me know what you guys think about the use of his meter as well. And this also looks like another wide sweeping semi-mid, semi-long range move that if you try to backstep or sidestep, you probably won't be able to get away from. Doing the podcast with Jig and the homie In, we were talking about this a lot, and it seems like you're probably not going to be able to get away from a lot of his moves unless you just like flash step behind him. Then they show us his awakening, Shikai, Flowing Blade, Young Fire. By increasing the output of his Shikai, Ryujin Wakabi, his performance has been strengthened. With more spiritual particles and increased damage dealt to his opponents, he can further compensate for his low mobility and exert more than enough power. What this sounds like to me, and the way that it's represented here visually, is that this is essentially a stat buff. His awakening is a stat buff and possibly a moveset change, because if we look at the attack string that he's using, a lot of his moves seem to have different properties than they did during the auto attack, light attack portion that we saw at the beginning of the trailer. So I'm wondering how much his moveset actually changes when he goes into his awakening, or if that was just something weird that they were showing us. His increase in damage is going to be insane once you stack that with his Gouen gauge and his Hellfire state, and he's probably going to be blowing through Reishi bars in like 1 or 2 combos. Like once he gets into his awakening, after you get comboed once or twice, you're probably going to be at prime Keycone move territory, that less than 30% HP, because of all the amount of things they say increases his damage output. So I'm excited to see how that actually looks in execution, because like I said, when I first saw him, I was a little underwhelmed. I was honestly a little underwhelmed, but it looks like he has a lot more going on than I was giving him credit for. The homie Rio said, "My worst nightmare is that if his defense is low, then that would make him a glass cannon, and I feel like that would not fit his character." Well, you do not have to worry about that at all, because his defense and his attack are both of his highest stats, and I kind of feel the same way, but more so about his speed, because I don't remember him being a slow character in the show. Like, I'm pretty sure he had overwhelming speed the entire time, which is why he was just like walking and standing a whole bunch, because he could just get wherever he needs to get instantly. So that's very interesting to me. Maybe if we get 1000 Year Blood War DLC with his Bankai, that would change, but you know, you gotta balance the game somehow. You can't have somebody be broken and just max out all their stats and just make them unplay, because we want to see variety. we want to make sure that everybody in the roster is playable, and we want to make sure that nobody is unplayable. So they gotta balance the game somehow. Luckily, that wasn't to the detriment of his defense stat. The homie L said, I think one of his main downsides is that he will take a lot of restraint to play well, like Nago or Hakumen, since it says his meter goes up just by using attacks and only goes down by landing light attacks, so you can't just throw out attacks without reason. Exactly. I'm not familiar with the two characters that you named, but when it comes to the way his attacks work, he is going to be very like resource management dependent, and you cannot just be mashing buttons. And maybe that's why his ease of use is so low, because you can't just mash buttons with him. If you mash buttons in the wrong way, you're not going to be able to maximize your meter and maximize your damage, and you might put yourself in the Hellfire state too soon, causing you to lose health where you don't need to lose health. And we don't know, can you lose health and that actually causes you to lose like a Konpaku? Like if you're at your last tick of health and you go into the Hellfire state, do you just lose that soul? We don't know. I'm thinking that it won't do that. Like it'll just be like a, okay, you're at one tick type of thing and you can't kill yourself using this move, but we still don't know, and we just have to see him play to be sure. And then the homie Owl Flame said, I asked that they not make him fire Kenpachi, and it looks like they kinda did anyway. At least on the surface. He does look like he's got more going on under the hood though. And you are exactly right. When I first saw the trailer, the vibe I got literally was fire Kenpachi. But the more that we see about this guy's moveset, I'm thinking he's closer to like Fire Byakuya. Like stats wise, he's Kenpachi minus, I think Kenpachi has really high speed, so minus the speed if I'm right about that. But when it comes to the way that he plays, it's actually more like Fire Byakuya, because he does have that range to him. Not as much. I don't think he's as much of a zoner as Byakuya. Once again, correct me if I'm wrong. But the way that his moves work, how there's the sweeping motion afterwards, where Byakuya, it's his Senbon Sakura petals, but with Yamamoto, it's the flames. So I'm thinking that he is like a hybrid between... So like if Byakuya and Kenpachi did the fusion dance and then ate like a mushroom, or not a mushroom, ate one of the Mario fire flowers, he would literally turn into Yamamoto. Like that's what I'm seeing with this. So I'm actually really happy with what they did with this character, with this moveset. Obviously, I wish we would be able to see his Bankai, but we're not going to be able to just because of where the game is going up to in the story. So maybe with DLC, we'll be able to see that. But yeah, guys, definitely let me know what you guys think, and leave a like, a comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed that one. I don't know if my tier list will be out this week or if we'll be dropping it next week, but this weekend we definitely have a lot to look forward to with Jump Fest. Saturday and Sunday cannot get here soon enough. The new Sonic movie comes out on the 20th. Like, what am I talking about, bro? Like, this weekend is going to be amazing. So, yeah. It's been real. It's your boy, Lee the Warlord. And I'm out of here. Peace. Fuck, I'm a gangster. Yeah. Yeah.